The Glitch Direct recently dropped, and we finally have all the details on episode 7. We've got an official release date, a brand new teaser revealed at New York Comic Con, and some pretty interesting info from the voice cast. Let's break down everything we know so far, because there's definitely more going on here than just a standard episode. Episode 7 drops on December 12th, that's official. But episode 8, it's not coming until March 20th, 2026. That's a huge gap, more than 3 months between releases. What's interesting is that episode 6 came out faster than the previous ones, so why the longer wait now? Gooseworks actually tweeted about it, joking that she's falling apart and dissolving in acid while apologizing for the delay. Obviously, that's her humor, but the real point is these episodes need more production time. Makes sense when you consider that episode 7 apparently went through multiple rewrites. When you're making something this important to the story, you take the time to get it right. At New York Comic Con, they had the voice actors describe episode 7 using just one word. The responses? Pretty wild. So Lizzie Freeman, who voices Pomni, said, "What?" which already suggests Pomni's going through something that catches her completely off guard. Then Alex Rochon, Kane's voice actor, drops Chinese on everyone. I still don't know what to make of that one. Could be about food, could be some random reference. Your guess is as good as mine. Amanda Hufford, who plays Ragatha, went with help. Yeah, not exactly reassuring when someone describes an episode with just the word help. Marissa Lenti, Gangle's voice actor, said huh. So we're seeing a pattern of confusion here across multiple characters. Ashley Nichols, who voices Zubul, picked Yikes, which is pretty self-explanatory. Something uncomfortable or concerning is going down. And then Gooseworks herself chose Shrimp. That's the one that really gets me, because with Goose's sense of humor, this could be a total joke, an actual hint at something important, or both somehow. When you line up all these words together, what? Chinese, help, huh, yikes, shrimp. None of them sound like you're in for a good time. They're all pointing toward an episode that's going to throw people off and make them uncomfortable. During the Glitch Direct, Kevin and Luke said the show's getting darker and more intense moving forward. Then they mentioned it's starting with a beach episode for some reason. That's an odd combination. Beach episodes are usually chill filler content, so either this one's different from the typical beach episode format, or there's something about the beach setting that plays into the darker tone they're talking about. For some reason, part suggests they know it sounds contradictory, which probably means the episode subverts what you'd normally expect. Think about how beach episodes typically work in animated shows. They're relaxation episodes, fan service episodes, or just a break from the main plot. Characters hang out, play games, maybe there's a volleyball match, or someone gets buried in sand. It's comfort food content that gives everyone a breather. But the Amazing Digital Circus hasn't really done normal tropes the traditional way. This show takes familiar concepts and twists them into something uncomfortable or unsettling. A haunted mansion becomes a psychological nightmare. A candy kingdom turns into an existential crisis. So why would a beach episode be any different? The deliberate emphasis on "for some reason" feels like they're acknowledging how weird this choice is. Kevin and Luke clearly understand that saying it gets darker starting with a beach episode sounds backwards. That awareness tells us they're being intentional about it. This isn't them accidentally picking a beach setting and forgetting to mention the tone shift. They want us to notice the contradiction, because that contradiction is part of the point. When episode 7 drops on December 12th, episodes 5 through 7 will all be available on Netflix at once. Glitch said they're doing this because people prefer binge-watching. It's a smart move, especially if episode 7 changes things significantly. People will want to go back and rewatch episodes 5 and 6 to catch details they missed the first time around. This release strategy also tells us something about how Glitch views these 3 episodes as a unit. They're not just 3 separate stories that happen to come out around the same time. There's likely a narrative thread connecting all 3 that becomes more apparent when you can watch them back to back without waiting weeks or months between each one. Think about the viewing experience difference. When you're watching weekly releases, you're digesting each episode in isolation, forming theories, discussing online, and then moving on to the next one. But when you binge 3 episodes in a row, you pick up on patterns, parallels, and foreshadowing that might not be as obvious otherwise. Small details from episode 5 might suddenly become relevant in episode 7, and having immediate access to go back and check makes the experience richer. There's also the practical angle that Netflix has a massive subscriber base who might not be following the YouTube releases. Dropping 3 episodes at once gives new viewers more content to sink their teeth into, rather than just one episode. It's easier to get someone invested when they have multiple episodes available. And let's be real, if episode 7 is as intense and divisive as the creators are hinting, people are going to want context immediately. They'll want to see what led to whatever happens, trace back the setup, and understand the full picture. Making episodes 5 and 6 readily available right there on the same platform removes any friction from that process. Everything points to episode 7 being a major turning point for the series. The longer production time, the warnings from Gooseworks and Michael Kovach about it dividing the fan base, the multiple rewrites. All of that suggests this isn't just another adventure. Episodes 7 and 8 were originally going to be one big episode before they got split up. Both probably have a lot of story packed into them, which explains why they need more development time. The fact that Glitch announced episode 8's date so far in advance shows they're focused on quality over speed. They're giving these episodes the time they need rather than rushing them out. When creators warn that an episode will divide the fan base, that's not something you say lightly. That means they're making a choice they know will be controversial or polarizing. Maybe it's a character decision that changes how we see someone. Maybe it's a revelation about the nature of the digital circus itself. Maybe someone abstracts or leaves, or something happens that fundamentally changes the status quo. The multiple rewrites are particularly telling. Most episodes go through revisions, sure, but when you're specifically calling out that episode 7 needed more passes than usual, that means they were struggling to get something right. Could be the tone, could be the pacing, could be making sure a major reveal lands properly. Whatever it was, they cared enough about getting it right to delay the episode and put in the extra work. And here's something worth considering. The decision to split what was originally one episode into episodes 7 and 8. That wasn't a small choice. It means they had so much story to tell, so much that needed to happen, that cramming it all into one episode would have been too rushed or too overwhelming. Splitting it suggests there are multiple major beats that each need room to breathe and land properly. The 3-month gap between episodes 7 and 8 also indicates these aren't standalone stories. If episode 8 is a direct continuation of episode 7, that gap gives the audience time to process whatever happens in December, discuss it, theorize about it, and build anticipation for the conclusion. It's the kind of strategy you use when you're telling a bigger story arc rather than episodic adventures. Here's a thought. What if the beach setting creates contrast? A bright, sunny, peaceful environment where something dark or heavy happens would hit different than if it happened in a gloomy setting. Beach episodes usually let characters exist without major plot developments. If this show flips that expectation, the beach could be where characters have to confront things they've been avoiding, and the pleasant setting just makes it more impactful. Could be what Shrimp is about, something small that ends up being more significant than it seems. Or Goose could just be messing with everyone, since she knows we analyze everything. There's something psychologically unsettling about bad things happening in pleasant environments. Horror movies figured this out decades ago. Put something disturbing in bright daylight, and it hits different than the same thing in darkness. The beach is associated with vacation, relaxation, fun. It's where people go to escape their problems. So if the digital circus crew is forced into a beach adventure and things go wrong there, that violation of expectations creates its own kind of horror. Maybe the beach episode is Kane's attempt to give everyone a nice, normal adventure after things have been getting increasingly tense. He creates what should be a perfect, relaxing scenario, and it falls apart anyway. That would be darkly ironic, even when trying to provide escapism. The underlying issues these characters are dealing with can't be avoided. Or consider this angle. Beaches are liminal spaces. They're the boundary between land and ocean, between the familiar and the unknown. In a show that's already about being trapped in a digital space between reality and fantasy, a beach setting could emphasize themes of being stuck at a threshold, unable to fully commit to moving forward or going back. The openness of a beach setting is also worth thinking about. Most of the adventures we've seen happen in more enclosed spaces, a mansion, a kingdom, specific structured areas. A beach is wide open, stretching out in all directions. That kind of space could force different character dynamics. There's nowhere to hide, nowhere to retreat to. If conflicts come up, everyone has to face them. And yeah, shrimp could be Goose just being random. But in a show where nothing is accidental, where every visual choice and line of dialogue gets analyzed frame by frame, throwing out the word shrimp has to mean something, right? Small creatures, easy to overlook, often used as food for bigger things. Could be a metaphor for how the characters are being used or consumed by the digital circus. Could be something that seems insignificant at the start of the episode, but becomes central to the plot. Could be an inside joke that won't make sense until we actually watch it. December 12th isn't that far off now. We've got the date, we've got these cryptic hints from the cast, and we know the production team took extra time with this one. The Netflix batch release of episodes 5-7 suggests they want people to see the full arc together, which probably means episode 7 makes more sense when you can immediately look back at what came before. We're at a point in the series where things are building towards something bigger. 6 episodes have established the world, the characters, the rules of this place. Now episode 7 is positioned to shake all of that up and take the story in a new direction. The pieces are all there. The ominous warnings from the creators, the extended production timeline, the strategic release on Netflix, that massive gap before episode 8. Whatever happens on December 12th, it's going to generate a ton of discussion. The fan base is already primed for something major based on all the hints and teases we've gotten. People are going to have strong reactions, probably split opinions, definitely a lot of theories about what it all means and where things go from here. And honestly, that's exactly the position you want your show to be in. When people care enough to argue about creative choices, when they're invested enough to rewatch and analyze, when they're counting down the days to the next episode, that's when you know you've created something that matters to people. Let me know what you think in the comments. What's your take on the one-word descriptions? Think the beach episode is going to be what we expect? Are you team shrimp means something or team Goose is just trolling? And what do you think is going to be the big divisive moment everyone's warning about? Drop your thoughts below and I'll see you in the next video.